So here's the problem. Let's get into this, shall we? And if you're a Bjergsen fan, get out the fucking tissues or maybe turn off right now because you're not going to be able to handle this. Let's just start with his pocket pick, right? That you were all laughing at when he was smurfing on people in NA with. It's the Zilean pick, isn't it? The idea they would even try that is insulting. It tells me he has no champion pool. They haven't watched the other regions. Or in scrims, they were so trash by the end, they had no options left. And he thought that was comfort. He thought, well, I'm going to be down in... Well, maybe he didn't think he was going to be down in CS, in which case he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about in the global meta, which I'm not even a fan of, but listen, it weren't working for you, mate. Now listen, why are you going to try a Zilean pick against fucking BDD? He is a Zilean player. He plays that shit in LCK, my boy. Not against bums that don't know what to do against it in NA and just ARAM mid all day long. Gen G, for that pick against Gen G, it was also, by the way, utterly brain dead for the comp that TSM had. So either Bjergsen's just a pawn in the coach who secretly he is and influences and can go around it, and he even owns part of it. Let's not get into that, shall we? Or we'll go fucking mad with the mental gymnastics and snap all our spines in half and make a TSM logo or some fucked shit. Then consider this. He went back to that well against LGD. How dare you? How dare you, after the way you performed in that first game, go back to that pick? If you do, mate, it better be a redemption game where you do awesome. Spoiler, it wasn't. Let's consider what else he could have had in the meta. If he was this assassin player that you all think he is from Season 4, Akali? Nah, didn't see that, of course. In LCS in past years, he's been good on Zoe. Never got an appearance. What about Echo? It's a good counter for certain match. Nah, it doesn't play that, of course. LeBlanc isn't even particularly meta for this Worlds. In fact, do you want to know something mad? He's the only person who played it, did nothing on it, and lost on it. Sound. This is supposed to be your star player. This is the guy you're saying is the only good player on the team. The only one you don't blame for Worlds. So let me ask you this question. Hypothetical, of course. Or rather rhetorical. Who is making these picks? Remember, I thought Doublelift and Bjergsen get to have say, and, you know, they're veterans, so they can say it. Remember, if you ever flame the coach, people go, well, what do you know? The player didn't ask for that. All they do is just dance around with mental gymnastics, these TSM fans. Hasn't Path known them for fucking years? So even if he picked it, why is he picking that champion? Why is he picking these matchups for him? This guy was making other mids look godlike on Orianna. And the joke of Orianna is it's the most basic bitch, just safe mid laner, isn't it? It isn't one that you go fucking ham on unless you're like Season 3 Faker or fucking Season 7 Rookie or maybe Knight at times. Even Knight wasn't that good against fucking Sunning on it, but you get my point. Think of Caps on Silas or TF if he gets those champions. Let's just be absolutely all cards on the table right now. If you all want to hate on Jensen or my boy Froggen from back in the day, has had a good year this year, but obviously in past years it was comparable. You always go with the angle of, yeah, but Bjergsen can play all the champions and Rome and all this. Nah. This Bjergsen's a mage player, my dude. He became everything you despised and everything you mocked years and years ago. And when you're like, you can't evolve with the times. Like, your boy can't evolve with the times. Can't get a good coach, can't get a good jungle, can't get a good shot calling, can't get the spot like I said. Give me a fucking break.
Remember, Jensen Goh, like, head guy at ESL for a long time, involved with ESL, now involved with G2, now involved with Fnatic, done tons of deals, sold the CSGO team to FaZe, got obviously part of a fantastic team in ULCS doing this. He has enough money that he can loan Fnatic money when they need money. They're a massive org, it's had a lot of success on all levels. So this guy didn't know about this and just accidentally, oh, sorry, I didn't really know it was like breaking the rules or anything. Pull the other one, mate. So here's what's interesting. What's your punishment for someone who essentially willingly has done this? And it would never have been found if it wasn't for Richard Lewis. If he didn't come out and reveal this, no, we wouldn't even know right now. This guy would actively be doing these things and potentially get ownership of Fnatic. And then we would have to have this scenario happen if it ever came public. Riot didn't find this out without Richard Lewis. No one found this out before Richard Lewis. So that's interesting in itself. That's not mentioned at any point here. So Riot is famous for fines, for saying, like, we're going to make an example of this person, doing, like, the most extreme thing imaginable to a person, banning them outright. You have to sell your thing within 3 days. Sell this right now. Sell it in a week. Fnatic isn't even banned, isn't even fined. They're very harsh with how they deal with other people in certain scenarios who they don't like. I also want to point out at the end of this video, Riot did not in any way reference Richard Lewis, his investigation. They didn't even mention him by name. They didn't link to anything he did. They made it almost sound, if you read their thing, as though they uncovered all this, as though they were diligent and really were checking who's owning who, and they wanted to get to the bottom of it. Remember, if Richard Lewis doesn't bring this up, this all goes ahead, and none of this happens. Right now, Worlds happens with one of the teams going there, having the minority stakeholder, while the other guy potentially gets to inherit another team that's in LCS already. He'd have 2 teams. Riot wouldn't find out about this necessarily. They weren't doing any of the work on it. Don't even reference the person who did all the legwork. I mean, What's funny about this is they didn't reference Richard Lewis in the Riot Renegades case, and he was involved in that. He was involved with putting evidence forward in that. Shows how little they actually care about esports, how little they actually care about honestly explaining what they knew and what other people gave to them and helped them with. Instead, they presented every time as though, we, league officials, investigated. You did fuck all. Someone else told you what to do, gave you the evidence, then you acted on it. You don't even reference that. How dishonest and disingenuous Riot are. And you can see from this video, if you go back, all the ways that when they're talking about one side that they don't punish, they keep downplaying it. And even though each thing, you can just take away the downplay. Well, they did break a rule, right? Yeah, totally. Is it about how much you own? Well, no, just ownership of any kind. Okay, relevant. How much then? Oh, but they can't control it. Again, is it about controlling? Is it about ownership? Oh, yeah, about ownership. Sorry. They keep downplaying it and making it seem not that bad and all these contextual reasons. And then for the Renegades one, they're just like, even though we have no evidence, we don't have any proof of this that we're going to provide you, just believe me, that's the worst possible thing, and we can assume this here. You know what? Fuck benefit of the doubt. You know, innocent until guilty. Well, I think he's just guilty anyway. And they just ban him outright and give him the harshest possible punishment. The harshest possible punishment. Losing millions of dollars potentially in the future. In this other scenario, yeah, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Yeah, it's Fnatic. Don't worry about it, guys. Totally consistent ruling, right? This is right up his alley. It's about the best player of all time in League of Legends, who right now has just accomplished something great. This sort of a piece, as someone who's been around the esports industry a long time, has a lot of experience with Reddit and a lot of experience with content creation, this should have been a surefire, slam dunk, 100% easy to predict top 5 on Reddit piece within like 40 minutes, within 50 minutes of being released. This should have been a piece that potentially gets to number 1 on League of Legends Reddit, and then even goes on to r/all, and people are coming in, oh, what's this, who's faker, what's this about, oh, video games, professional video games, like that. Instead, after an hour, this piece hadn't even reached the front page of Reddit. It was 2 days ago, by the way, so there's no vote manipulation going to happen because of this video. Not only had it not reached the front page after an hour, it took several hours to get to the front page, and then it never got that high overall in the context of what I'm saying, which should have been the obvious projected result here. And the reason why that didn't happen is not because the piece wasn't good enough, because it didn't come out in terms of the topical aspects at the right time. It's not like people aren't interested in Faker at the moment, or people don't want to know about an update to his career in the context of it, or what Fionn has to think about it. It's not any of those factors which would normally be the things that would dictate the success of an article like this if you did everything else correct. So it's nothing on Fionn's part that's incorrect. The reason why this was fucked up is because of his editor. Now, this is speculation on my part. I haven't specifically asked Fionn to tell me, oh, did your editor do this or what? But when this sort of thing has happened in the past, in other instances with other great writers, who are fantastic writers in esports, in League of Legends and other games, I've checked with them when this sort of pattern happened and something was released clearly at the wrong time. I've asked them, and in pretty much every single case, it turned out an editor at these big websites, ESPN, The Score Esports, other websites, was the one responsible for choosing when the article was scheduled and when it went out. And if the writer maybe had a little bit of input, but sometimes in these cases where it was fucked up, he didn't get the final say, and so they've just been at the whim and the mercy of one of these editors, and it's the editor that's put out the bad time and thus fucked up the whole success of the article, the exposure of the article, and ultimately how many people will get to read that article. And so these big names in terms of writers, they mean something. It's not just the site's name which means something, which it certainly does, and they can contribute to that, but these big name writers are very important. And without these top quality writers and the top quality content they produce, those big names would not last in terms of being big names forever. Yeah, they'd be a big name in a context, but there's only so high they could get. They need to be buoyed up by the talent and the quality of the output of these writers, and it's a symbiotic relationship. Now, that's the best part of it. The worst part is now what I'm going to get to, which is the editors and the leadership of these sites. Because even the ones who actually claim to be from esports, they are nearly all, I would just say almost all, and I've got to know, or I've found out about many of them, almost all of them, the ones who say they came from esports, are people I have never heard of, and I have worked in, around, and behind the esports industry for 15 years in sites Russia, Sweden, Germany, USA, all around the world, been in many different scenes, been to Korea, been to North America, been to like 50 countries or something. I've never heard of any of these people, never interacted with any of them, never seen them do any sort of work that's notable, never even heard of them having a high position. So some of these people that even make the claim to come from esports, I'm very skeptical about that in itself. But the worst thing is, some of these people who, even the ones who come from esports and the ones who don't, all of them seem to have this one trend, which is what's fucking up esports journalism for me in terms of the big sites in this key area, which is that they all bring with them this mindset which would apply to traditional journalism, but not even from this decade. They bring this traditional journalistic mindset, ethic, approach, to how you do things that would actually be more in place in a newspaper office, a paper newspaper office, a physical product, not a digital one, from the 1990s than it does in a 21st century digital esports journalism virtual office.
So I hate narratives like that. Well, one that I really don't like, in general, stems from the notion that in League of Legends especially, it feels like people push certain artificial narratives constantly, and some of it comes from Riot and some of it comes from the Western scene in general, and there's one need to try and cater to fans. And in general, the narrative that I don't like that seems to be sold and try to almost brainwash the casual fan is the notion that the West is good and the West is like close to the top Asian teams, especially the top Koreans, and the gap's always getting closer and closer and closer and smaller and smaller and smaller all the time, and it's going to be so close soon. And you know what, this team, this time the champion from the West, can beat all the Korean teams and win worlds. This narrative has been pushed throughout the LCS era of Riot being around, and part of the problem with this narrative is the main people it works on and it has its most agency with is the most casual viewer, the guy who in general just watches LCS. He just watches tournaments. Very rarely does he go online and read in-depth articles about lane swaps or about champion picks in different regions. He's getting his information almost entirely from analysis desk and commentary people. And so if those people at all buy into this notion or shape their commentary in the way they discuss the game around those areas, even if they don't always explicitly state them, they're leading into the scenario where this sort of person can be hoodwinked, he can be tricked, he can be brainwashed, and he can be sold this false artificial narrative. Part of the problem with these artificial narratives, which are created in that fashion, whole cloth usually, or even worse, where you want something to be true, or someone to believe and perceive something as true, and you reverse engineer a narrative out of it that gets them from this position you can't possibly be at in reality now to where you are now, and bridge that gap, as it were, close the gap, then part of my problem is they don't tend to go anywhere. Like if you sell the people the idea from season 3 onwards that the Western teams are super close to the top Korean teams and maybe Cloud9, this dominant NA team, actually will just outright beat SK Telecom and win worlds, it doesn't go anywhere. I mean, for a start off, it's not going to work. Even if every now and then you have a fluke win and upset, that's not going to hold up to the next time because there isn't substance to this. The game isn't telling you this. You're ignoring what the game's saying. You're removing the nuance of what the game says, and you're reducing everything to a sentence. Oh, the West is close to Korea, or whatever. So as a result, even the most casual viewer, if he watches long enough, will eventually cotton on to what's happening. He'll figure out that this isn't quite right. This is kind of bullshit what I'm being sold here. Consider how many years, even up to this year, people were calling Monty like a Korean dick sucker for saying Koreans would win. Now, it's not like he said every Korean would win. It's not like he said Ku will just like, who at the time were the third best Korean team, they'll smash every Western team and just dumpster all over Fnatic's face. Not necessarily. That would be an extreme exaggeration of his opinions. He was saying the best Koreans, as usual, will end up winning the championship as they have done in all the past 3 worlds and have done in the majority of the international tournaments and have an insane record of dominance over international tournaments in League of Legends history.
I was putting together reports where I go and I get salary information from top players, top teams in Europe. By the way, something I could get paid megabucks for and have been as a consultant, just one-on-one with teams. And then I would get that info so that then we could push the orgs and we could say, look, you have this budget, you claim you can spend this. Well, this player's available for this and here's his buyout, so go and get this player. I soon discovered that in the Flashpoint orgs, nearly all the GMs were incompetent idiots. The owners knew nothing about the transfer side or had any read of who's good to sign and who's not. They were just going on Reddit narratives. The GMs typically weren't even from CSGO. They didn't know who the free agents were, who the players in teams who would want to leave were. They didn't know their buyouts. They didn't even know how to contact them. And I was doing all these things. They didn't even know the terms of their salaries, what to offer them, that some of them would leave. They were like, but he's in a good team. That's like in the 9th in the world. Like, well, I know he's available though. All right, but how can you know that? Like, these guys were so incompetent. I remember thinking, I'm not going to have to do it all myself. But I also thought, you know what? If I do it all myself and this works, you have to pay me that sort of fucking money next year, don't you? And then we'll actually finally have a league with good players and good teams in it. Then I tried to get new GMs and coaches into the league. I tried to go to the team, listen, this guy isn't good enough, he's just a demo watcher. Get this guy's one of the best. I had some of the, here's the thing, because coaches often aren't the guys who have enough power and position and they're just pawns within their orgs. Even some of the best coaches in the world, if I made you a top 10 coaches in the world list now, I had like 2 or 3 people on this list, sometimes 4 or 5 in terms of GM positions, who wanted to come to Flashpoint and join. Now, I can tell you, almost none of them did, because those orgs didn't care, didn't understand, never got it. They still have their fucking Overwatch guy as a GM. They still have some bozo former shithead tier 3 NA player as their GM. They don't get it, guys. They don't care about this side of Counter-Strike. So in terms of the talent, that was because of me and Monty. It wasn't because of Flashpoint. They didn't have loads more money, but they didn't like overpay and all, pay like way higher stuff. They paid like people's day rates and the amount you should, etc. But they made their decision to come with us because of what we were trying to build, because of the vision that we sold them. Especially, by the way, once they knew we had no fucking teams, like for Flashpoint 2, etc. Some of them even just straight up told me, listen, mate, I'd have left a long time ago if you weren't here, but as long as you're here, yeah, I'll stick it out. Let's do what we can together. Let's fuck all these other TOs and do what we can. After Flashpoint 1, I even had to get new talent. And I didn't even go for the big names, did I? Even though I paid them the money I would have given the big names. Because I looked around the scene and I saw some people at tier 1 in all aspects of the business. I think these people aren't fucking good enough. So I'll get people who have potential and show me something, and especially show me like initiative, work ethic, respect, loyalty, and I'll craft these people into the next tier 1. That'll be way better than the current tier 1 people. And I'm glad to see other TOs using some of those people. Like obviously I had Maui Snake from the beginning, but then I got in Hawker and I brought in Alan. These guys Alan was never hired to any of these events even when I told the TOs. Hawker would just be on the B stream as a fucking colour commentator. Like these guys could do so much more than these fucking idiots know, but the people who hire them have no fucking eye test and just go off like, Reddit seems to like this guy, or he's on all the other events. Like that's the sort of follower business that we're in, guys. We're not in a business of people who have vision and who are willing to stick by their own fucking qualitative judgments.
Oh yeah? You and whose army? Well, how about the Skrilluminati for one? They're the people who support my content. This video was kindly supported by The Concept, Matt, Pugnatio, Rajcula, Thorin, Jensen Goh, Tosh, Jasun, Banediesel, Animosity, and you know it, everyone does. A special thanks goes out to my main man, Jerky's Minion, for the long-term support. Do you want to ask a question for my AMA videos? Would you like teasers? Find out what upcoming guests I've got? You want to suggest a topic or a guest? Maybe you want to be part of one of those 1 hour lengthy online discussions I do where the topics are set by you. Well, if any of these perks or more tickle your fancy, I think you know what to do by now. Put your money where your mouth is and join the Skrilluminati, where Patreon link in the description below.